It is truly glorious to be gathered again together on Holy Shabbat. I also want to welcome those who have found us on YouTube. This is a continuation of the lesson, The Salvation Question Revisited. And before I get into the specifics of the teaching, I want to preface this by saying that this is an appropriate time for this. I think the Christian church has been teaching a lot of lessons, but always the assumption is if you're here in the congregation listening or on TV listening, and if you have said a prayer which says that you believe in Jesus and that you agree to make him Lord of your life, then you are going to heaven. You are saved at that particular point. As if that wasn't incorrect enough, they go on to say, at least the Protestants do, that salvation is secure. That salvation cannot be lost. There's nothing that you do in your actions at that particular point that can ever get you kicked out of the salvation which was born for you at the time you made that prayer of confession. We're going to take a look at this doctrine. Now remember, this is specifically a Protestant doctrine. Catholics have a different problem. They have a problem, a huge one, but it isn't this. Where eventually, down the road, this is going to take several parts to get out, this is also something in which we're going to take a look at the actual words of the father of the Protestant Church. His name, most of you listening and watching should know this, is Martin Luther. I'm going to conclude this little intro by saying that Salvation Question Revisited Part 1 was an extended intro, and this concludes it right now with what I'm about to say. I was having a conversation in the form of a witness with a nurse that works in dialysis who is a very, very devout, religious, Christian type of person. And she's a very, very strong-willed person. So when you encounter people like that who have been deceived into believing the lie that most Protestants have been deceived into believing, and you approach them, you can expect a rather vociferous blowback. And I certainly received it. Of course, the true faith tells us to be not passive, but to be something which is strong for righteousness. The fact is that we as a people, believing people, but all people, are weak-minded, and we're weaker-minded in this age of technological proliferation than we have ever been in the history of mankind. Excessive entertainment, excessive technology has made the pleasures of life so easy that we don't know what it means to work hard, except when we are doing some type of academic study. And initially you look at that and you say, well, that's a good thing, you know, we're not murdering or killing or treating people bad or whatever, but there's a number of bad things that are dealing with that, and I'm going to get into that a little more deeply. as the lesson goes on. But suffice it to say, the first thing it does is it creates isolation. It creates the type of environment where people no longer have the limited people skills they used to have, because they just don't talk enough to people. They don't deal enough with people. So instead of the divorce rate going down, it remains constant or grows, because people just don't know how to get along with people. Now, the Bible tells you how to deal with this, but that gets to the very core of the issue. People don't do what the Bible says. And the basic reason why, at least in this country and in the part of the world which is dominated by Protestant Christianity, the basic reason why is this false doctrine, which we call salvation by faith alone. It also leads to the doctrine of once saved, always saved. If you believe that, if you adopt that as a doctrinal premise for yourself, you have just killed what we talked about last time as any urgency to improve as a person. And you believe that no matter what you do, you're still going to get the reward in the end. So why push? When the Apostle Paul writes, I press into the high call of the mark, but he's already an apostle. He's already preached the word and was given the glory of the greatest amount of wisdom outside of Solomon. All these other things, and he did not see his salvation as secure. He saw it until his last breath as something that he should press into on a daily basis. And you know why? Because Paul understood that the devil doesn't rest. And if we don't stay on point, well, that's Paul. How about the Messiah? You shall receive persecution in this life. You'll be brought up before magistrates for my name's sake. But he who endures unto the end shall be saved. Now let me ask you a question. If all you got to do is believe in Jesus and say you love him and that you're going to follow him, whether or not you really do, that's all you have to do and you're saved, why would the words ever come out of the Messiah's mouth that would tell us in a not indirect way, you have to endure something? What is there to endure if you're already in? Think through this. What is there to endure if I've arrived? Nothing. And there's certainly no urgency, no motivation to endure anything. To change as a person, biblically, it says it's my responsibility, it's your responsibility, but it also says that it's something that I must pursue with every ounce of strength to change as a person. So the first step to coming to Messiah is to realize that we need change. That's the first step, is to realize we need change. Because you don't come to the Messiah until you realize our wretched state. That's the purpose of the law. The Apostle Paul said the law is a reflector. It shows us what's missing. It doesn't correct the problem, but it shows us what the problem is.